time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Petco Park in San Diego, Sportsnet LA is proud to present the Dodgers as they take on the San Diego Padres. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good day to you on a beautiful Monday afternoon here in San Diego. For the Dodgers and for the Padres, they turn it over and begin the new leaf. And for the Dodgers, they lead with their best. That would be Clayton Kershaw, a 16-game winner last year. Clayton is 12-6 lifetime. He is 3-0, making his sixth start as an opening day Dodger pitcher. Don Sutton pitched one more opening day for 7. On the mound for San Diego, Tyson Ross. Ross, a 10-game winner last year in 49 starts. He has never allowed more than 4 earned runs. He is tough, although he doesn't win a lot. He was 0-5 as a starter against the Dodgers, 0-6 in his career. Last year, the Dodgers won 7 of 10 here in Petco Park against the San Diego Padres, and overall whipped the Padres 14 of the 19 games. And as you probably know, the Dodgers finished up 8 games in first place in front of San Francisco. And for San Diego, they were in 4th place, 18 games back. One other thing, 2 rookie managers have combined for a total of 1 game. And that would be Dave Roberts, who was an interim manager here for 1 game last year. With that, we'll be back right after this. To you wherever you may be. We're at Petco Park in San Diego. A blue sky canopy overhead. We had a few wispy clouds earlier. They've moved on. And right now, this close to capacity crowd ready to settle in and watch a good ball game. When it is at capacity, Petco Park, a 40,162 ballpark. There have to be butterflies for everybody concerned, including the two young managers. Dave Roberts with one game, an interim manager under his belt. Andy Green has never managed before, and for Andy, he takes over a San Diego ball club that really struggled, wound up last year 18 games back of the Dodgers in fourth place. However, this is a different Padre ball club. When you look at the 2016 team, 5 of the 8 position players are no longer on the roster. Yonder Alonso, Jed Jerko, Clint Barmas, Will Middlebrooks, and Justin Austin. Upton has gone to Detroit. So it's a new look ball club for San Diego. It's a new managerial and coaching staff for the Dodgers. And in a moment, 2 of the top pitchers in the game will go head to head. Tyson Ross for San Diego and Clayton Kershaw for the Dodgers. So the Padres take the field. Big Tyson Ross, he's 6'6". He will be facing a Dodger lineup that reads this way. It'll be Chase Utley leading off at second base, Corey Seager at short, Justin Turner at third, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Yasiel Puig in right, Carl Crawford in left, Jock Peterson in center, A.J. Ellis the catcher, and Clayton Kershaw the pitcher. Tyson William Ross by name, out of the University of California, Berkeley. He was born and raised in Berkeley, lives now in Oakland. For years, as a kid, he played ball in the streets outside the Oakland Coliseum. It happened to be that he was playing on 66th Street. So when he became a baseball player, even in high school and college and in his first early years, he wore number 66. However, now that's kind of a ballooned number for somebody who is a starting pitcher in the big leagues, so his number now is 38. Tyson Ross has a wicked slider. In fact, they keep so close to what players do today. Last year, there were 46% of slider pitches that was swung on and missed. It didn't really help him that much. He had a record of 10-12. and 0-5 as a starter against the Dodgers. What was his biggest problem? Base on balls. He was the wildest pitcher in the National League last year, walking 84. And another thing, he has a lot of trouble holding runners on. Last year, there were 37 stolen bases against him. So we'll see what the Dodger plan of attack will be as Chase Utley checks in. Oh, it's a long time ago, April 24th, 2003. In his second major league at bat, Chase Utley got his first major league hit on his first start, and it was a grand slam home run. So let's see, it's a new year, and Chase checking in. Utley, left-hand batter, as you know, fastball is up a little bit for ball one. 1-0 the count. For the Dodgers, they have 10 men listed on the disabled list, and number one is Howie Kendrick, who would normally be at second base. Now the next pitch to Utley on the outside corner for a strike, and the count 1-1 strike. For the big pitcher, Ross, well, among other things, his younger brother was in the Padre organization and is eventually now a starting pitcher with Washington. The next pitch to Utley is fouled back. In fact, last year, Tyson Ross pitched a game and beat Cincinnati at night, then asked for permission. It was granted. At 4 o'clock in the morning, he got up, went to the airport, and flew to Washington to see his other brother make the major league start. And for Tyson, sad to see, his brother pitched pretty well, but Washington lost. Then he got back on a plane and joined his team. Tyson Ross ready. Big right-hander's next pitch low in the dirt. Scrambling stop by Derek Norris. So Utley followed by Seager, followed by Turner. The Dodgers have won 6 straight with Seager waiting on deck. They've won 6 in a row against San Diego. They've also run 5 straight opening day games. Ross ready and comes back. Utley takes low again. 3-1 the count. We're just starting here in San Diego. As Ross looks down, gets a sign. Tyson heaves a little sigh. And the 3-1 pitch is sliced into left center field on the dead run, making a diving try is John Jay. No play, and Utley is into second base standing with a double. So Chase Utley leads the way. Certainly John Jay gave it a tremendous effort, but Utley just seemed to stay under the ball, flare it into left center. Jay couldn't make the play. Upton had to back him up, and Utley leads off with a double. And here comes Corey Seager. So a nice way for the Dodgers to start. Lead-off double. And now Corey Seager trying to pick him up, or at least get him over to third. Seager carrying the pressure of being so good. At least that's his record. Everybody has already proclaimed him Rookie of the Year. We'll see. Corey looks at the first pitch, and that's low. 1 ball and no strikes. So Seager playing at shortstop for the Dodgers. He is the youngest Dodger opening day shortstop. Are you ready? In 72 years. Corey waiting at 6'4". He takes a look at the pitch away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Seager is 21 years, 343 days old. Gene Mauch, remember that name? Well, he started at short for the Dodgers opening day 1944, and Gene was 18 years old. The next pitch to Corey Seager, fastball, and that's whacked to left field. Going back on it is Upton. It's over his head, and it's off the wall. Utley will score. Into second base goes Seager, and the Dodgers on back-to-back doubles lead 1-0. So that didn't take very long. Both left-hand hitters going the other way. And for Seager, a double behind Utley's double, and the Dodgers are on the board. So now Justin Turner coming up with a chance to extend the game, the inning, and the score. 1-0 Dodgers. We're just starting out. Turner checking in right-handed, as always. Had that micro-fractured knee operated on. And the first pitch to Justin is taken high, ball 1. Well, we told you before that Ross led the National League in walks with 84. He's having trouble throwing a strike, and when he does, he's given up back-to-back doubles. Turner waiting, and the 2-1 pitch swung on, foul back. By the way, in talking about Justin Turner, when he was a freshman Cal State Fullerton, he was hit in the face while squaring to bunt on a pitch against Stanford. He also broke his ankle on the play. Point of it being, it has not been easy for him at all to become one of the top hitters now in the major leagues. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ross set, looks back at Seager. The next one hit the other way in the hole. Out on the grass is Spangenberger to make the play. And a fine bit of hitting by Justin Turner, advancing Seager to third. Justin tried to punch that ball into right field and came awfully close to doing it. Good cover play by Spangenberger. Myers never had a play, but Ross alertly covered. So Turner is out. Taking third is Utley. And here is Adrian Gonzalez. He has had a remarkable career. Last year against the Padres, he wore him out. He had .314 with 7 home runs, 17 runs batted in. One of the amazing things about Adrian Gonzalez, and if you follow closely the doings of the Dodgers, you know that he's had a disc problem in his neck, even going back to when he played here in San Diego. So you know he has to be playing in some pain. And with the infield up, he swings and doesn't get it, and the count 0-1. But here's the rather remarkable thing. 10 straight years he has played in 150 games or more. That is really wonderful. So Adrian Gonzalez, the leader on the club, pretty much the soul of the ball club, and certainly the most productive. They give him men on base, he drives them in. Adrian holds up on a pitch low. He didn't drive in as many last year as the year before, and it was a pretty simple reason. He didn't have as many at-bats with runners in scoring position. So if they're there, he usually picks them up, and today, as Kershaw leads 1-0 without throwing a pitch, Adrian trying to make it 2-0. He holds up again, pitch low and away, and the count 2 balls and 1 strike. Gonzalez back up, waiting now on his pitcher. Yasiel Puig waiting on deck. Ross goes to the rosin bag. Infield up on the right side, back a bit on the left. Outfield fanned out straight away. Gonzalez last year just missed hitting 300 with runners in scoring position. He hit 296. Takes a pitch up around the chin. 3-1 the count. So you can throw as hard as you can. You can have the great slider that he has, but if you can't get it over the plate, no way. He was 10-12 last time, 0-5 as a starter against the Dodgers. Now the 3-1 pitch. Adrian promptly bangs it into center. Base hit. Walking in is Seager to make it 2-0 Dodgers. So the Dodger fans, and there are many of them here, it was estimated a good 60% of the people right near the ballpark were Dodger fans. And for Gonzalez, he continues to be the butter and egg man and delivers. Fastball that had good motion going away, and he just went with it and singled to center. So still 1 out. Gonzalez drives in the second run. You say they're disappointed here in San Diego? Well, they got the whole game. But how about Milwaukee? Milwaukee welcomed the San Francisco Giants to open up today, and the Giants beat Milwaukee 12-3. First pitch to Yasiel Puig, in for a strike. 0-1 the count. For San Diego, remember last year they went on quite a spending spree. Still wound up trying to recover from 2014. Fastball down and away is swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. So they were 77-85 2 years ago. Went out, spent a lot of money, lost a lot of first-round picks. Last year they were 74-88. They were 3 games worse. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Check swing. Strike 3. Yasiel Puig unable to hold out. So we have 2 down in the first inning. Dodgers have 2 to lead 2-0. And here comes Carl Crawford. It's hard to believe, but way back in 1969, the brand new Padres, they welcomed the Dodgers, not here. Jack Murphy Stadium was the name of it then. The leadoff man for the Dodgers was Crawford. No, not Carl Crawford in 1969. It was Willie Crawford, Dodger outfielder. The first pitch is a little high to Carl. 1 ball and no strikes. For the Dodgers, the magic is somehow or other to keep Carl Crawford healthy. If he's healthy, he is a very solid ball player, and that is so important with Andre Ethier down. Crawford takes the next one, in for a strike, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. I think the last couple of years, too bad for Carl and the Dodgers. He's only been able to play about 80 games. Crawford set. Ross comes back, swung on and missed, and the count 1-2. Crawford backing out I would think with 2 strikes, you're looking at a hard slider from Ross. Certainly, Carl Crawford, who has read the book, has to be figuring that way. Derek Norris calling the pitches, shuffling his cards behind the plate. And here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. So after a raggedy start, Ross settles down, strikes out Puig and Crawford, but the Dodgers get 3 hits and 2 runs. And at the end of half an inning, with the Dodgers up on top 2-0, they give the ball to Clayton Kershaw, and we'll be back right after this. First inning, Andrew Mulligan Green by name, the brand new manager of the San Diego Padres. It's his first year. He's played in the big leagues with Arizona and the Mets, and finally, after really a hard battle to stay in the league, he finally went into the minors, and here he is. Tough thing about him, as Mark McGwire talks to him. We'll take a look at the Dodger lineup, and we have seen Utley lead off. Now we'll see John Jay, who almost caught Utley's ball, leading off for the Padres. So here comes Clayton Kershaw. The left-hander ready and delivers, and drops the first pitch in for a strike. Kershaw, the numbers are remarkable. For instance, last year, 301 strikeouts and only 42 walks. Big swing and a miss by John Jay. Kershaw, that makes him #1 in Major League Baseball history. This is his 6th opening day assignment. He has 3 wins, no losses, earned run average of 1.1. The pitch away, a little slider. John Jay, you may remember, with the St. Louis Cardinals, they loved him there. He struggled with a lot of injuries last year and hit .210. Check swing low. In fact, when John Jay came back from his 2nd injury, they tell me that the ballpark, it was a standing ovation as he was coming up, and had the organist not butted in and began to play, the crowd would have roared a lot longer. So he's a guy who might be unheralded, but very popular in St. Louis. Jay gets his chin out of the way of a pitch up and in, and the count 3-2. Jay followed by Derek Norris. Kershaw ready, leading 2-0. Back he comes, and a 3-2 pitch waved at and missed. He was really fooled, that pitch away off the strike zone. We can set the Dodgers defensively at a glance, and they check out this way. The Dodger infield with Gonzalez and Utley, Seager and Turner, and the outfield, Crawford, Peterson, and Puig. A lot of excitement here in San Diego. First of all, for the new team, but remember, the All-Star game in July will be played here. So here is Derek Norris, the catcher, big right-hand hitter. And the first pitch to him in for a strike. Question: who led the Padres in infield hits last year? Believe it or not, it was the catcher. Derek Norris had 22 infield hits, batted .250. As a look at a pitch off the plate, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Waiting on deck, Matt Kemp. Dodgers lead 2-0. Couple of doubles, Utley and Seager, and a single by Gonzalez. Now the next one, fastball away. When you look at a Kershaw game, you're going to see a fastball, a curveball, and a slider. The rarest pitch of all is his changeup. He rarely throws it. Now the 2-1 pitch on the way. Fastball hit late in the air to right field. Coming over is Puig, going back to the track to make the catch for the out. It's 322 down the right field line. But there's a little jury box that juts out, sticks out in front of the basic wall. And Puig had to go all the way over into that corner. So not an easy play at all. So Yasiel gets his man, 2 down. And here is Matt Kemp. Matt Kemp did a lot of good things last year, but he's been plagued. He had bad ankles last year, and the story that I've heard, he has arthritic hips. So he's played in a lot of pain. He has a look at a pitch low, 1 ball and no strike. So Matt Kemp trying to get something started here. Dodgers lead 2-0 first inning. Kershaw ready, in comes back. And it's a chopper wide to third. In the hole is Seager to effortlessly throw to first in time for the out. So a quick inning, 1-2-3 for the Padres. And at the end of an inning, Kershaw and the Dodgers lead 2-0. We go to the second inning, and the Dodgers leading 2-0. It'll be Jock Peterson, A.J. Ellis, and then Clayton Kershaw. So we will see about Peterson, who is 2 different players, as you well know, last year, and takes a strike on the outside corner. I remember a scout once telling me, strikes don't lie. And when you think about it, you understand what he meant. The pitch to Peterson low and inside. For instance, if you say this fella's a hitter. Why? Because he gets a lot of base hits. And then you say, yeah, but look at some of the hits. Some little squibbers up along third, bloopers. So there are all kinds of things in trying to describe a hit. But when you say strikeout, I mean, that's it. You want to talk about what pitcher did it, that's another story. But as the scout said, strikeouts don't lie, and Clayton Kershaw could write a book about it. Jock Peterson takes a long strike call and walks away. We're waiting for Gary Cederstrom, the veteran umpire, been in the league 22 years. So Peterson strikes out, and what that means is that Ross is starting to settle in. He has struck out 3 in a row, and the batter A.J. Ellis coming up. A.J. has a lot of work to do. Yasmani Grandal on the DL, just one of the 10 Dodgers on the disabled list. The pitch in for a strike. So Ross now starting to settle in after a raggedy beginning. He gave up 2 doubles and a single, and before the chairs were warm, San Diego was losing 2-0. A.J. Ellis takes one in there for a strike, so he's in a hole. No balls, 2 strikes. Hard to believe the last time the Dodgers lost an opening day was 2010. Vicente Padilla was the opening starter and the loser. So Roberts has some numbers on his side as he begins his first year as the Dodgers skipper. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ross turns ready. Big guy over the top, fastball over the head of Ellis. And the count 2 balls, 2 strikes. Just about a sellout crowd of 40,000, awfully close. For the Padres, they haven't had a good team in a while. Last time they reached the playoffs was 2006. Now the 2-2 pitch in the dirt. So 3-2 the count. Of course, talking about playoffs, the Dodgers have 9 straight playoffs and never advanced. 3-2 the count. Ross both feet up on the rubber, left foot slightly in front of the right. And the 3-2 pitch, fastball hit in the air to right field. Matt Kemp backtracking and makes the catch for the out. 2 down. One of the big problems the scouts will tell you about San Diego last year. This is a big outfield, and they had 3 corner outfielders. They never had a center fielder. So they went out to get John Jay. But it's too spacious to have 3 corners. So you have Melvin Upton, John Jay, and Matt Kemp, and they certainly think they're well better off with Jay in center. Now here's Clayton, and he takes a pitch a little low. 1 ball and no strikes. Dodgers lead 2-0. 2 out, top of the second, not a cloud in the sky. Kershaw's pitch, a chopper wide of first, up with it easily as Myers takes it to the bag. And so the big guy, Tyson Ross, has settled down, retired 5 in a row, striking out 3 of them. And at the end of an inning and a half, Dodgers 2, Padres nothing. April 13th, Dodgers and Diamondbacks at 7:10, and the first 40,000 fans in attendance receive an adult hooded sweatshirt presented by Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. Interesting to think the Dodgers played 3 games with the Angels and scored 1 run in each game for a total of 3. Now they play their first game of the year and they score 2 runs in the first inning. So Kershaw leading, getting ready to pitch to Will Myers, then Ramirez and Solarte. Will Myers, the American League Rookie of the Year back in 2013. His first major league home run was a grand slam against CC Sabathia. He was playing the outfield, but he feels much better playing first base. Swings right through a pitch. Right-hand batter checking in. Kershaw waiting for him to settle in. Now Clayton deals, and it's hit in the air foul down the right field line, out of play. San Diego traded Yonder Alonso to Oakland, and that allowed them to move Will Myers to first base. No balls and 2 strikes. Kershaw ready, back he comes, a little low. 1-2 the count. We mentioned Yonder Alonso. He had the start opening day last year. Historically, a current and former Dodger holds the record down here for most opening day starts at first base. That would be Steve Garvey and Adrian Gonzalez. Of course, who had the most opening day starts? I'm sure you're way ahead of me. Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn, bless his soul and heart, was in that lineup 17 opening day games down here in San Diego, and a statue is well deserved in his memory. 2-2 pitch on the way. Change up. That's the pitch he's trying to learn to throw. And you know who was trying to help him along in spring training? Eric Gagne. Gagne had a great change up, and Clayton is trying, but it hasn't really worked for him. And he comes up with a change up, nobody will ever get a hit. 3-2 the count to Will Myers. Ramirez, the talented shortstop, on deck. Clayton looks in, gets the sign, left-handed deals, and it's swung on and missed. So Myers strikes out. Kershaw has retired 4 in a row. He has struck out 2 of the 4, and the batter will be Alexi Ramirez. For Will Myers, I'm sure he thinks, I've got to learn, how can I ever face Kershaw? He is now 0 for 9 against Kershaw with 6 strikeouts. Clayton nods to his catcher. AJ, his favorite target, settles in. And here's Ramirez, a remarkable player. First ball hitting, ground ball to Turner, over to first in time for the out, and we have 2 down. For the Padres, they figure that Ramirez is the answer to at least one prayer. Since 2009, the Padres have had 18 different shortstops. So he's the one to try to stop it. Number 10. 2 down. Yangervis Solarte, third baseman for San Diego, right-hand batter, and Kershaw works him in on the fists. Ball 1. 2 out here in the second. 2-0 Dodgers. Solarte is one of those fellows you have to feel very good for him. If ever anybody deserved the goal, and he finally arrived and reached it, he spent 9 years in the minor leagues trying to get here. And when he got here, he made a lot of noise with the bat. Kershaw ready, left-handed kicks. Now he comes with a fastball on the outside corner for a strike. It was in April the 8th, almost an anniversary of 2014. Solarte hit 2 doubles and became the first player in modern era to have 6 doubles in his first 7 games. He has the count his way now, 3 balls and 1 strike. And you certainly may remember an outfielder by the name of Roger Cedeno. Roger is Solarte's uncle. 3-1 pitch coming up. Solarte takes a hook that stays inside, and the Padres, after 5 outs, get themselves a base runner, and Melvin Upton coming up. So Upton will look down to third at old pal Glenn Hoffman before getting in. Melvin Emmanuel Upton. He was always calling his first name not Melvin, but Boss Man. That's his father's nickname. Upton, right-hand batter. First pitch swung on, foul back, and the count 0-1. Upton, in a game last year in May, had a grand slam and a double. He gave him 6 RBIs in a game, most ever by a Padre. Nate Colbert, Ken Caminiti. 0-1 the count. 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the second. Kershaw ready, comes back, and there's a ball hit right at Seager, and that's the inning. So no runs, no hits, a walk and a man left, and at the end of 2-0 Dodgers. Third inning here at Petco Park in San Diego. The Dodgers out in front 2-0, and the top of the lineup, Chase Utley, Corey Seager, and then Justin Turner. Tyson Ross struggled in the first inning, gave up 2 runs and 3 hits, retired the side in order, goes into the third inning, having retired 5 in a row. So Utley 1 for 1, scored a run with his double. And Ross works a fastball in for a strike. Nice easy fastball at 93. Utley, of course, figures to do a lot of work at second base and third, but he's called upon to work right away at second with Kendrick down, and Chase nicked by a pitch and is awarded first base. So Utley is hit, awarded first. In the first inning, Utley had doubled, and Seager then promptly came up and doubled to the base of the left field wall. So Corey drives in a run, and then he was driven in on a single by Adrian Gonzalez. Corey Seager, he's a big kid. He's 6'4". and fouls off a pitch. You know, in talking about his size, we got to thinking about big Dodgers. Who are the biggest over the years? And of course, right away you think of Frank Howard, if you are old enough to remember. But if you're thinking about the size of Dodgers over the past few years, we'll solve that for you. And the strike one pitch coming up to Corey is instead a throw to first. We had a catcher, Sandy Alomar, for a while. He's 6'5". Frank Howard, 6'7". Corey Snyder, 6'4". Guzman, infielder at first and third. He was 6'7". Ashley, Guzman, and Howard. And the pitches to Kemp, 6'4". Seager just did get out of the way of the pitch, and they count 1 ball and 1 strike. And then, of course, you can go back. Mark Hendrickson was 6'9". Rick Sutcliffe, 6'7". Derek Lowe, 6'6". Don Drysdale, 6'5". Jerry Royce, 6'5". The next one to Seager is off the plate. Also, when we were in Brooklyn, the Dodgers had a first baseman named Howie Schultz, and Schultz was 6'6". So they've been the tallest Dodgers, and we'll see just how tall Seager winds up, looking down at a wonderful career. Corey waiting, Utley at first, nobody out, throw to first. On a 2-1 count, Ross thinking about hit and run. The only problem with the hit and run against a guy like Ross, he doesn't spend that much time around the plate. So if you put it on, you're hoping that he's going to get one in the strike zone. Well, let's see. Utley's not going. The 2-1 pitch is fouled off, and the count 2-2. Corey wearing a number that certainly rings the memory bell. No, not in Brooklyn. No, you look at that number 5, and in New York, it has to be Joe DiMaggio. Two balls and 2 strikes to Corey, 2-0. Favor the Dodgers, top of the 3rd inning. Ross keeping an eye on Utley, who has a very short lead. Tyson ready, back with a pitch, check swing, but it's going to be a bum check, and down he goes. So Seager strikes out. That's the 4th strikeout for Tyson Ross. 1 out, 1 on. Justin Turner coming up. Tried to hold that bat back, but he just couldn't do it. So 1 away. Justin Turner grounded out. Was a good bit of hitting. With a runner at second base, nobody out. He had a strike, but on the outside part of the plate, and he went the other way. Grounded to second baseman Spangenberger, but it moved Seager along. Doesn't get the first pitch, and the count 0-1. Justin Turner has become a marvelous hitter. I guess the best reason, he finally got a chance to play every day. No balls and 1 strike to count. Ross again at the belt. Big guy back with a slider, and it's banged into left field for a base hit. Let's see now about what Utley will do. They're going to wave him in. The relay is going to be on a bounce at the plate, and he is out at the plate. Alexei Ramirez was the cutoff man. It was a good throw by Melvin Upton. He got it accurately to the cutoff man. And Upton to Ramirez to big Derek Norris, and Utley is shot down. So Turner hit a slider into left field for a double. Now you'd expect that double to be an RBI, but it was a wonderful play by Ramirez and Upton. Any manager would love to see a relay the way that was, and Norris gave him the whole plate and still had plenty of time to tag Utley out. So if you're scoring 7-6-2, 2 down, Turner at second base,
And here's Adrian Gonzalez. Good play. Those are the kind of plays in the major leagues you really expect to see, and you don't see them that often. And there's one hit into left center for the base hit. So for Gonzalez, his second hit, he cashes in Turner, and the Dodgers now lead 3-0. And for Gonzalez, every time he comes back here, he rubs salt in the wounds. So Adrian does it again. 2 hits, 2 RBIs. Single to center in the first inning, single to left here in the second. So the Padres are fortunate that they got that excellent play to the plate. Turner unfortunate, losing a possible RBI. Turner run well on that base hit by Gonzalez, and of course with that microfracture surgery, anytime Turner has to run a lot, the Dodgers hold their collective breath. So it's 3-0 Dodgers in the third inning, and the batter is Yasiel Puig. Puig goes after the first pitch, doesn't get it, and the count 0-1. Dodgers have 3 runs and 5 hits. We're only in the third. This, of course, game 1 of the 3-game series. Kazmir and Shields tomorrow night. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Puig takes in the dirt, goes to the screen, and by the time the catcher Derek Narr goes back to pick it up, while Gonzalez at second base on the wild pitch. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Padres. No runs, no hits. Puig now with a chance to pick up Adrian Gonzalez. Derek Norris, who did a very good job behind the plate for the Padres last year. Meanwhile, Kershaw rests on a cushion of 3-0. All right, Puig back up, waiting, hanging over the plate a bit, and the 1-1 count as he straightens up. Ross delivers, fastball at 93. A 2-seamer had a little bit of sink to it. The 4-seamer rises, and then, as we mentioned, he has a dynamite slider. We'll repeat, 46% last year. Swings and misses on the slider. 1-2 pitch on the way, a little low, blocked by Norris, keeping his man Gonzalez safely at second base. Padres will have Spangenberger, then the pitcher. By the way, Derek Ross is a good hitting pitcher. He had 255 last year with a home run. And then John Jay. 62 degrees, light breeze coming off the bay. Flag in center, blowing left to right. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Ross delivers off the plate. 3-2. So Puig goes all the way. Crawford waits on deck. Ross heaves aside, trying to get the ball back over the plate. He made 36 pitches coming into the inning. 51 pitches, so it's been a 15-pitch inning. And the next pitch inside. So Puig goes to first on the walk. Gonzalez holding at second, and here comes Carl Crawford. There'll be a little meeting at the mound. We wanted to talk briefly about Andy Green. Andy Green, we mentioned his playing background, but he's a tough guy, and you go all the way back to his grandmother, who was a marvelous athlete. And Andy Green was raised by his mom, and when he was 5 years old, his grandmother had such respect in the area that she was able to get Andy into the Little League T-ball. He had to be 6. He was only 5. So they sent him out to the mound. The first batter in T-ball hit a line drive. It hit him right in the mouth. Came off the field. Time was called. Bleeding, gargled, etc., and went right back out to the mound. We're not finished. Here's the next pitch, swung on and missed by Crawford. So he goes back to the mound, and the next pitch is a 1-hopper right back and hits him in the mouth again. Now he's 5 years old, and he's taken 2 shots in the mouth and will not come out of the game. I mean, you want to talk about a tough kid. Andy Green, now the manager of the Padres. Strike one pitch on the way. A chopper up the middle. On it easily as Ramirez steps on the bag, and that's the inning. Big play. The double by Turner. The excellent relay. The middleman Ramirez, and the Dodgers deprived of one and settle for one and lead 3-0. In the butter and egg man for the Dodgers. 4 Gold Gloves. He's in his 17th year playing baseball. He is 34 years old in the month of May. And boy, what a cleanup hitter he has been. We told you he has played at least 155 games, 10 years in a row. Kershaw leading 3-0, working on Corey Spangenberg. Corey grew up right near the Dodgers training camp. He's from Indian River. Went to the community college there. Home was actually in Fort Pierce, not far away. Pitch now to Corey, in for a strike. Corey Spangenberg. They think he has a shot. Left-hand hitter, right-hand thrower. Kershaw comes back, and Corey swings a little late, pulls it on the right side, and Utley is there to handle it. Just like that, 1 out. One fly ball so far against Clayton Kershaw. Fly ball to right field by Derek Norris in the first inning. So he's into the third, 1 away. And as we told you, a cautionary note with Tyson Ross. Big Tyson hit .255 with a home run last year, 6 RBIs, led all major league pitchers in batting average, and take low, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Dodgers 3 runs, 5 hits, no errors. They've left 3 and had 1 erased at the plate. Spangenberg takes outside, 2-0. Outfield shaded a bit to right field as Kershaw delivers down and away for a strike. 2-1. Center fielder Peterson over into right center. Puig shortened up in right. Now the 2-1 pitch swung on and missed, and the count 2-2. Clayton with an earned run average on opening day as a starting pitcher, 1.1. 2-2 pitch on the way. fastball, and see you later. So for Kershaw, his third strikeout. We have 2 down here in the third, and John Jay coming up. Jay struck out in the first inning. Jay is a very interesting guy and a student of the game, always trying to improve himself physically and his talents as a big leaguer. It all paid out for him from August of 2011 as he takes a strike and July of 2013. He had 245 games where he did not commit an error. The strike one pitch, slow breaking ball misses. Not only the longest streak for all Cardinal outfielders, Curt Flood, a former Cardinal, went 226. John Jay, of course, with that remarkable name in American history, has been nicknamed the Federalist, the Founding Father, and the Chief Justice. 1-1 pitch, check swing. They look at third. No swing, says Adrian Johnson. By the way, we have a veteran crew of umpires. Gary Soderstrom behind the plate, 22 years. Eric Cooper at first, 18 years. Kershaw's next is Lowe. Jim Wolfe at second base, 14 years. And Adrian Johnson, he's the kid, 8 years. 3-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the third, Kershaw ready, and back he comes. Fastball in at the knees. That runs the count 3-2. John Jay had a big thrill. He was in a shoe store buying some shoes, and who came in? Michael Jordan, and he probably bangs it into left field. Up with it there is Carl Crawford. Jay a big turn and holding with a 2-out single. And when he talks about meeting Michael Jordan in the shoe store, he refers to him as the GOAT. And you say, GOAT? Why is Michael Jordan GOAT? No, he said, G-O-A-T, greatest of all time. You ever heard that? Well, that's what John Jay brought to the dance, GOAT. All right, a 2-out single, and here's Derek Norris. Now, John Jay runs very well. Kershaw normally controls the running game, so let's see as Norris checks in. Derek right here he comes, fly ball to left field, couple of steps up, and at the other end is Crawford, and that's the inning. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 3-0 Dodgers.
Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Carl's Jr., the Midnight Moonshine Burger with moonshine glaze and garlic pepper onion straws. Only at Carl's Jr.
Dodgers lead 3-0 going into the third inning. Jock Peterson, A.J. Ellis, and then Clayton Kershaw. They load up the right side of the infield for the Padres. Peterson struck out in the second inning. Swings, rips one a hopper, but it's fielded on a bounce by Spangenberg to throw him out. So what was in the old days a clean single to right for everybody but Ted Williams, now a hard line drive, one hopper, and they get Peterson. You know, this week only T-Mobile customers can get a free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB and sign up now. Catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. So Peterson, a one-hopper, but is thrown out on a ball that was into right field. And the batter, A.J. Ellis. Dodgers with 5 hits. We didn't have much to talk about as far as ground balls, and that's Tyson's game. When he's on his game, a lot of ground balls. 1 ball and no strikes. In there, 1-1. Question for the Padres as Clayton Kershaw waits to come up. What about the future? How long are some of the Padre players going to stay here? Case in point, you take tomorrow night's pitcher, James Shields, 3 years and $63 million left on Shields' contract. Both Andrew Cashner and Tyson Ross are in arbitration years. Ellis up there, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Matt Kemp, well, Matt Kemp is still due $21.5 million through 2019. One thing about Kemp, he certainly rose to the occasion. As we look out in left field, Upton is also a high-pressure guy with a lot of money left. Meanwhile, talking that money, Ellis still a quiet at bat. Upton gets 31.9 through 2017. I mean, that's unbelievable. Ross hides the ball back of his right hip. Now he's ready. And takes care of Ellis with the slider. So he's losing, but he has struck out 5. And he now faces Kershaw. Clayton grounded out in the second inning. Ground ball backhanded by Will Myers, and Ross came over to cover. 2 out. We mentioned earlier about Ross allowing 37 stolen bases. Kershaw last year allowed 7. That's all. Of course, while he's struggling today, he does a lot well in the fact he only gave up 9 home runs last year. Admittedly, this was a bigger park than it is now. It's the area in right center field. And we lost an area that I certainly used to love to look at. You remember the sand pile? Yeah, behind that right center field wall where there are seats and people. That was sand. And all the little kids were playing. They had a hurricane fence so you could see through it. And then behind that, you had the grassy knoll. So now there are seats below, seats above, and still in the back, the grassy knoll. Little nubber. It's going to be Norris, who just did nip him. Took a while to get there. And the Dodgers, for the second time in 4 innings, go out in order. And at the end of 3.5 innings, it remains 3-0 Dodgers. Guarantee your tickets to opening day with a 2016 Los Angeles Dodgers mini plan. Choose some great promotional games featuring fan favorites like bobbleheads and brand new retired number pins. So visit Dodgers.com/mini plans, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the ballpark. Clayton Kershaw, so far in 3 innings, has allowed 1 hit. That was to John Jay, 1 walk to Solarte, and he has struck out 3. Now he will face Matt Kemp. Talking about rising to the occasion. When you think about Matt Kemp, last year, Matt Kemp hit .328 against the Dodgers. That was 70 points higher than he hit against any other team. That's remarkable. So he rose to the occasion, grounded to short, first time up, and a strike to Matt. 0-1. Matthew Ryan Kemp by name. Strike 1 pitch on the way. On the corner. Matt made a little news in real estate this winter. He sold a home that he had in Arizona. But the thing that got everybody's attention, the house had 20 television sets. 2-0. 1-2 the count. Didn't take him long. Matt made his big league debut in 2006. He was an all-star by 2011 and again 2012. And this time Kershaw rings him up. Kershaw now has struck out 4. You would imagine sometimes the reverse. You're playing against your old team, you really bear down, and you can't do anything. But Matt last year wore his old friends down. .328. Will Myers, he struck out in the 2nd inning. Takes a strike. 0-1. Will is a Tar Heel, so that means he's wondering about tonight. Yeah, he's from Thomasville and High Point. That's great furniture company in the old days from that area. Now, a lot of it just empty buildings. But tonight, in case you don't follow it, North Carolina and Villanova. 1-1 pitch is low, ball 2, 2-1. Boy, Villanova, I don't know if they'll ever be able to play a game as well as the game they played against Oakland. I have to keep it soft because Boyd Robinson's from Oklahoma. Fly ball into center, hesitating for a moment, and Peterson picks it up. Peterson had to get a read on it. He's standing out there in brilliant sunshine, but the grandstands are in shade directly behind home. You don't get help on balls hit, let's say, into right center or to left field. The left field is in shade, but the one real area with sunlight on it is from home all the way to the right field foul pole. And that's where the left field is looking. That's a strike. Now here's a guy you really would like to meet. I'll tell you why in a minute. Alexei Ramirez. Change up, and that got in there. That has to please Kershaw. It's about Ramirez's car, really. I guess you just have to meet his car, and then you'd meet Alexei. Strike 2 pitch in the dirt. Check swing. It's strike 3. I believe. Nope, just a foul ball. We were looking at the home plate umpire, Gary Cederstrom. He raised his right hand. Take a look and see. Check swing, bounce. When I saw that right hand go up, the Dodgers in the dugout were wondering about it. Couple holler out. Anyway, Ramirez's car. Here it is. His car is painted by thermochromic paint. See you later now. Meaning when his car, a Jaguar, is cold, the car is black. When it warms up, it morphs into red, white, and blue. And the hubcaps, the wheel covers, go in reverse, so you think he's backing up, and never mind. It's 3-0. He'll have to meet it. Thought about Ramirez's car, and I will drop it. What did it cost for that paint job? So remarkable. $25,000. They load up the right side for Utley. Ball one. 1-0. Spangenberg, well out into right field, took what appeared to be a clean base hit away from Jock Peterson. On the corner, 1-1 to Chase. Tomorrow night, Scott Kazmir and James Shields. Ball two. And then the concluding game here in San Diego before the Dodgers move on to San Francisco. Maeda and Cashner. Two and two, foul tip. We told you that they ran a lot on Ross. Padres allowed 122 stolen bases, and they caught 53 of them. So Norris behind the plate did a very good job. And that's promptly hit in the air, coming over to right center, and now over to left center. John Jay, one away. Three runs and 5 hits for the Dodgers. They've left 3. They've had a man thrown out at the plate. So far, Padres have had just a murmur of protest. That was a single by John Jay in the 3rd inning. Corey Seager doubled off the left field wall despite being a left-hand batter. Promptly bangs it the other way. Our man Ramirez, the car man, makes the play. Justin Turner coming up. Turner went the other way to move his mail along, and then last time up doubled, but Utley was nailed at the plate trying to score from second base on a perfect relay from Upton, Ramirez, and Norris. Norris settling in, shuffling his cards behind the plate. Fastball. That's a four-seamer, which has a tendency to rise a little bit. Tyson Ross, 6'6", standing on that 10-inch mound. 110 last year. Another strike. Turner 1 for 2, grounded out and doubled. Two balls and one strike. And ball 3. And another strike. The Dodger veteran left-hand hitters have really been productive throughout their careers. Crawford, Gonzalez, and Utley. Little flare to right field, starting back, then coming in is Kemp. So the Dodgers, for the third time, go quietly, and at the end of 4.5 innings, it's still Dodgers 3, Padres nothing. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Save big on a stylish new Corolla right now at Toyota's One for Everyone sales. Bottom of the 5th inning, Yangervis Solarte takes a strike. Switch hitter, batting right-handed, of course, against Clayton Kershaw. Solarte, we mentioned earlier, spent 9 years in the minors, but he feels that he was stashed away, that he had the ability but languished. I'm sure a lot of fellows spending that much time wonder why they're down here that long. But he's here. Had a good year last year. Line drive speared by Justin Turner. Boy, the reflexes of a big league infielder. Oh. That's a BB heading to left field, and he's able to react. So that's the hardest hit ball against Clayton Kershaw today. And we have one down. Now Kershaw has retired 5 in a row after the base hit. He opened up the game going 5 in a row and then gave up a walk. So here's Melvin Upton. Justin has moved on. He's in Detroit. Fouled away. The formerly named B.J. Upton, now Melvin. They all grew up in the Chesapeake, Virginia area. Just missed. 1-2. He and his brother both hit their 100th career home run on the same day. Foul ball. Can you imagine that? It was August the 3rd, 2012. One hit the home run in Philadelphia and the other in Tampa. Justin is younger. Hit his for the Diamondbacks in Philadelphia. BJ for Tampa did it against Baltimore. So Melvin Upton waiting at the plate. Melvin Emmanuel Upton. Another thing about the two brothers as Kershaw works on a new ball. Justin's big league debut came exactly 3 years to the day after the debut of Melvin Upton. And they were both 19 at the time. And with all of that, foul tip, though he's still at the plate. Kershaw kind of looks at Cedarstrom. A.J. Ellis talked a little bit. All right. 2-2. Upton live on the foul tip. And the fastball takes care of him. So Upton strikes out, 2 down. So Kershaw has now retired 6 in a row. And the batter is Corey Spangenberg. Kershaw working on a one-hitter that came in the 3rd inning, a single by John Jay. Ball 1-0. Earlier we were talking about the Padres and the running game. But when you think about stolen bases, the team that was really badly bruised by that, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They allowed 144 stolen bases. The Cubs 137. Spangenberg grounded up to the right side. Flares foul off to the left. 2-1. Kershaw, if I can remember, I think he's thrown one changeup. They narrowed him down last year. 0.4% of all of his pitches, a changeup. And he comes up there in a hurry at 93. 3-1. Three and 2. Dodgers play 2 more here, then fly up to San Francisco. The weather's not supposed to be too good up there. Next Wednesday and Thursday, as I understand it, we might even get some rain or showers or whatever. It takes care of Spangenberg. That's 7 strikeouts now for Clayton Kershaw. He is very much in control, and the Dodgers are leading because of it, 3-0.
They pounded Milwaukee today 12-3 for Madison Bumgarner. Dodgers, meanwhile, have 2 more here, and then the collision up north, starting with the Giants on Thursday. Let's go back to this one.
Adrian Gonzalez, Yasiel Puig, and then Carl Crawford. Gonzalez comes back, has singled twice, driven in 2. Continues to be a remarkable hitter. And although never been much talk about it, but he's had a neck problem since when he was here with San Diego. It's a disc somewhere high up in the neck. He has lived with it, and he has played exceptionally well. Foul ball. Adrian was a first-round pick by the Miami Marlins. He was born here in San Diego and then spent about 12 years in Tijuana. Went to high school in Chula Vista. So he's very much Mr. San Diego. Little ground foul. And looking over his wonderful years, it's still remarkable to think 155 games or more for the last 10 years. Last year, 156 games. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Won't bite on that little breaking ball low. If you joined us a little late, in the very first inning, Chase Utley doubled. Corey Seager doubled him home. Adrian singled home Seager, and the Dodgers led 2-0. And in the 3rd inning, despite having a man thrown out at the plate, Kershaw picked up another run to give him a 3-0 lead. A one-hopper again to Spangenberg in right field. So that's 2 otherwise base hits except for the shift. Peterson and now Gonzalez. See, don't forget Thursday on an all-new episode of Backstage Dodgers, you'll go behind the scenes. The team wraps up spring training as Arizona heads back to L.A. to close out the preseason. Yep, don't miss Backstage Dodgers. That'll be Thursday at 7 on Sportsnet L.A. So Gonzalez losing a base hit to the defensive alignment. That's hit down the right field line, slicing foul. It's 322 down there, and that winds up deep in the crowd. As we said, I don't know officially what the count is, but paid here is a full house, 40,162. And Yasiel is hit on the elbow, and showing that it doesn't affect him, he sprints down to first base. George Lombard, the coach over at first, advising Puig, but Yasiel immediately sending a message when he ran down the line. Out right on the elbow. The question now is tomorrow, how will it feel when he wakes up? But he's big and strong and tough, and he is not about to rub. By the way, with a change in coaches, we should briefly tell you about first base coach George Lombard. Strike. Lombard is the grandson of Harvard Business School's former senior dean and professor of human relations. His mother is a white woman named Posey. She was a civil rights activist who marched alongside Martin Luther King. Or maybe he could trace his family tree to a pilgrim who came to America on the Mayflower. Remarkable background. And of course, he fits in perfectly with John Jay. 1 ball and 1 strike. Almost thrown away, and a very nice play. First baseman Will Myers. Three runs, 5 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit for the Padres. We're in the 6th inning. Another throw, close. Perhaps Puig is thinking, well, he nailed me. I'll try to nail him and steal a base. Remember, 84 stolen bases against Tyson Ross last year. So Yasiel might be very anxious to run on him. Well, Ross is very much aware, perhaps, of that possibility. Crawford trying to be patient. 0 for 2 today. 2 Dodgers have been hit by pitches. Utley back in the 3rd, and Puig now in the 6th. High chopper. It's going to be a tough play for Solarte. He throws on a bounce, and Myers is not on the bag anyway. So Crawford, I believe, will be given a base hit on a hopper to 3rd, and the Dodgers have 2 on, 1 out, and Jock Peterson coming up. Tough play because with Crawford up, Solarte was way off the bag and couldn't get back and make a strong enough throw. So hit number 1 for Crawford, hit number 6 for the Dodgers, and now let's see. For a moment, Myers started to go to the mound as if being directed to do so. And here's Jock. Struck out and then just lost a base hit, with the second baseman Spangenberg way out in right field. Now, of course, he is back in on the skin part of the infield. A bullet right by the diving Myers, all the way down in the corner. So here comes Puig. Crawford will stop at 3rd on a blistering double by Jock Peterson. Whoa, did he hurry that thing down the line. And it's interesting, all of the Dodgers were applauding young Jock. So he's a good kid. His teammates like him, and they were thrilled for him. For the Dodgers, that's the 4th double, and that thing is crushed. So Peterson cashes in Puig. Crawford stops at 3rd. The infield has to play up, and the Dodgers now with 1 out, a chance to break the game wide open. For the Padres, tough opening day. Tyson Ross, their ace. 0-1. Yasiel, after being hit on the elbow, comes around to score from 2nd. Now you have Peterson and Crawford out there. Check swing. They're going to look at first. Swing, says Eric Cooper. And the count 0-2 on A.J. Ellis. Brian Buchter starting to loosen up. He's a left-hander. Tyson is due to lead off, so he might very well be coming out for Buchter, either during this inning or for a hitter. Oh, 2. High chopper. The drawn-in infield can't make the play. Coming in easily is Peterson, followed by Ellis, who stops at 1st. So Crawford and Peterson are back in the dugout, and the Dodgers now are sitting on top of a big lead, 6-0. With the infield up, that high bouncer looked like a marble on a concrete floor. A leaping try by Ramirez, but he couldn't get it. So Ellis, base hit, 2 ribbies. Now the crowd a little annoyed because, as we mentioned, they spent a ton 2 years ago. That didn't work after a bad year, and last year they had a worse year. So now they're hearing a few boos And there's a shot up the middle for a base hit for Kershaw. So with one out, Puig hit by a pitch, Crawford a base hit to third, Peterson a double down the right field line, A.J. Ellis a high bouncer off the glove of the shortstop Ramirez, and Kershaw a base hit to center. And so the wheels have come off Tyson Ross's wagon. And Andy Green, his first job, first game, and he's in a hole, 6-0. The Dodgers 6 runs, 9 hits, and the Padres no runs and 1 hit. So Tyson Ross, a 10-game winner last year, driven to cover, and we'll be back. Is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the Bacon-licious sourdough bacon ranch combo only at Jack in the Box. Well, for Tyson Ross, bad day, bad beginning of the year. He goes 5 1/3 innings and gives up at least 6 runs. However, Ellis at second, Kershaw at first are also his responsibility. A long, laborious day. He made 94 pitches and faced in the first inning, gave up 2 runs and 3 hits, and it went downhill. So here is Ryan Buchter. He was in the Dodger organization, pitched for Oklahoma City last year, and then also AAA Iowa. Pitch in the dirt. Nice serve by Kevin Norris. So Ryan Buchter out of New Jersey and born in Pennsylvania. That B-U-C-H comes out Buchter. Ryan Buchter. He's big, 6'4", and about 250. And that's probably hit into right field for a base hit. Ellis will be stopped at third. The ball is bobbled, so Ellis keeps on going and scores. And over to third goes Kershaw. And that run, of course, belongs to Ross. So it's now 7-0. And for Utley, he's got 2 base hits, a double and a single to right. Run batted in. The error charged to the right fielder, Matt Kemp. So 7 runs, 10 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit for San Diego. Base hit and the error charged. And for Ross, he is still not out of the woods. So Kershaw coming down the line is his responsibility. 7 runs and 10 hits. That is indeed an explosion after the weak performance against the Angels, losing in Dodger Stadium, scoring 1 run each of 2 games, going to Anaheim, scoring 1 run, and then exploding here. Of course, remember, the Dodgers have beaten San Diego 6 straight going into this game. This could be number 7. And for Peterson, he's made hard contact twice. 1 for 3. That's way off the plate. Seager double, struck out, grounded to short. His double hit the base of the left field wall. After the dust has cleared, it's Utley all alone out there, and Kershaw down the line from third in foul ground. Because of the error by Kemp, no run batted in for Utley. Matt trying to charge the ball and make a play. Couldn't come up with it. The pitcher spot, Buchter, is due to lead off, bottom of the 6th inning. And breaking ball. Remember, the last time the Padres had a good team, you'd have to go back 10 years. You have to go back to 2006. So for Andy Green and Mark McGwire, it's a bitter pill to take. Opening day, sellout crowd, your ace on the mound, and you're down 7-0. It's a 4-run inning. 3-2. And that's going to be lined to center. Handling it is John Jay. He throws it in, but Kershaw is going to score. And the Dodgers now have a 5-run inning and lead 8-0. That must have been a tough play. John Jay winds up catching the line drive on one knee. So Seager hit it hard, and a good center fielder stayed with it, but he could not possibly prevent the next run from scoring. And that run, remember, is charged to Tyson. So for Ross, great way to start. 8 runs, and then you try to make up, and your ERA is blown clear out of the water. So here is Justin Turner, 9th man to come up here in the 6th inning. Dodgers have produced 5 in the inning. And ball 1. Turner grounded out hard to advance a man to third in the 1st inning. Double a left, only to have Utley thrown out at the plate, and last time up flied to right. 1 ball, no strikes. That's a little low. 2-0. So Ryan Buchter picking up the pieces. Ross just sitting in the dugout, has to be really downcast. 2 balls and no strikes. Eight runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers, no home runs. Two and 0. Two and 1. Tomorrow night, Kazmir and Shields. Wednesday, Kenta Maeda and Cashner. And then off to San Francisco. Cashner is another one of those pitchers you think he's got to be a success, and he hasn't done it yet. And you know, he throws as hard as 100 miles an hour. Oh, they let him go after that 2-1 pitch. Fouled it off to the right. So the deuces are wild in a wild inning. Dodgers have scored 5. You have 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out to Turner. Chase Utley at first. And Tyson Ross going through the pains of being a starting pitcher. Meanwhile, the other side of the coin, Clayton Kershaw has allowed 1 hit. Well, they're going to call that strike 3. I think that might have been a mercy call by Segerstrom, the plate umpire. Look at Justin saying, "Oh, come on, give me a break." Breaking balls, then a fastball, another fastball up. That brings up another run, and the Dodgers take a 8-0 lead into the bottom of the sixth. For Clayton Kershaw, this would be his 6th opening day assignment. He has a record of 3-0 and an earned run average of 1 in the opening day assignments. And he is now sitting on an 8-0 lead in the bottom of the 6th. Dodgers make a defensive change. Trace Thompson is now in left field, taking over for Carl Crawford. Good fastball for a strike at 92. Adam Rosales, out of Chicago, lives in Phoenix. Went to school at Western Michigan. Big chopper wide of third. Turner makes the play, and we have 1 out. And the batter will be John Jay. John Jay struck out and has the only hit against Kershaw. That was a base hit, clean as a whistle in the 3rd inning to left field. 1 out, 6th inning. So Jay 1 for 2. Kershaw has struck out 7. He has allowed 1 hit and 1 walk. Of course, remember last year, I mean, that was history, an historic event. 301 strikeouts and only 42 walks. Foul back. John Jay, 31 years old, from Miami. Went to the University of Miami and was drafted 2nd round by the Cardinals. And he came up to the big leagues in 2010. An excellent defensive outfielder. Cardinals needed that in this spacious outfield, and they're hoping they'll hit enough. Little ground ball. Nice play, but a double clutch made it close, and Utley was able to get him anyway. So Jay rolls to the right. Utley doing a very nice job. 2 out, and Derek Norris fly to right. That's the double clutch. but he still had time. 2 down. So what has Kershaw done? Well, he's retired the last 9 in a row. After Jay's base hit in the 3rd, no one has reached. Norris flied to right, flied to left, 0 for 2. Strike to Derek. Luis Perdomo, right-hander, begins to throw now in the San Diego bullpen. Norris, interestingly enough, as you see, Perdomo hit well 2 years ago, but had trouble defensively. Last year, he threw out 38 base runners, leading the majors, and all of a sudden he was struggling. Derek Norris, and Kershaw thought there was a strike. Derek Norris was an all-star 2 years ago. Flew to the All-Star and proposed to his wife-to-be in an airplane that was pretty much financed by Scott Kazmir. Fly ball to right field, Puig there in the shadows. So Kershaw continues his mastery now. That's 3, 6, 9, 10 in a row. And at the end of a strong 6, Dodgers lead 8-0. To the 7th inning. Looking at Adrian Gonzalez, you could say it's the same old Adrian. First time up in the 1st inning, singled. That drives in Corey Seager on a base hit to center field. Next time up, he goes the other way on a fastball, singles to left. That cashes in Justin Turner. And so for Gonzalez, he begins the year with 2 hits and a couple of ribbies. Interesting. Maybe you think it's a boring game or a one-sided game, and it is. However, in the life of young Luis Perdomo, it's the biggest day of his life. He's 22 years old from the Dominican, and this is his major league debut. Strike. At 22, good size, 6'2", 185. Originally signed by the Cardinals, then picked up by Colorado. Now with San Diego, and after about 6 years in the minor leagues, he gets a look. Luis Perdomo. So whenever asked, for the rest of his life, he'll be asked, who was the first hitter you faced when you made your major league debut? Adrian Gonzalez. Outfield, fanned out straight away. That's on the corner. Throws a two-seam fastball right around 90, 89. They'll follow Buchter. That just missed. It's kind of interesting. It's opening day, and the Padres have used two non-roster pitchers. Buchter was not on their list, nor is Perdomo. So it gives you some idea how tough sledding it will be, even in San Diego, as Gonzalez takes ball 4. Say, a reminder, you know, the Giants come to Dodger Stadium for 3 beginning Friday, April the 15th. So be sure to get your tickets today. To purchase, visit Dodgers.com/tickets. All the Giants did today behind Bumgarner, beat Milwaukee 12-3 with a bunch of home runs. I think it's 4. Puig, a chopper up the middle, through for a base hit. Ciasiel walked, hit by a pitch, struck out, and now singles. So first and second and nobody out. And Trace Thompson coming up. So Perdomo comes in, gives up a walk, a base hit, and he's in hot water. In that giant Milwaukee game, Bumgarner was the winning pitcher. He went 5 innings. He allowed a couple of home runs, but the Giants had home runs by Matt Duffy, Denard Span, Joe Spanik, and Buster Posey. And Span, Panik, and Posey back to back in the 8th inning. First time the Giants had that, a trio of home runs going back to 2006. Trace Thompson with the Chicago White Sox. As the scouts say, he has a tendency to have a long swing. He hit a few home runs for Chicago, 5 last year. They do say he is an excellent defensive outfielder. And they figure for Trace, with Carl Crawford, Scott Van Slyke, if they get into a tough spot, they have a good Leatherman in the dugout. There's Crawford, good-natured guy anyway, smiles easily, and that's going to go down the left field line, base hit. So as if the Dodgers need it, they are going to pick up 2 more, in fact make it 1. Puig stopped at third when it looked like he was going to be waved in. So Thompson, a double to left. So he gets a base hit and a run batted in, and that cashes in Gonzalez. Puig was rounding third, being waved in, and then Chris Woodward decided not. So Perdomo, 2 hits and a walk, a run. Dodgers lead 9-0. The Padres could have gone to the beach. It was a nice day today. Had they gone to the beach, they would have lost 9-0. Yeah. Oh, I wasn't being sarcastic. All right, Jock Peterson struck out, grounded to the second baseman who was in right field. That would have been a base hit back a few years. And then last time up, blistered a double inside first down the line. So everybody in the Dodger lineup, including Kershaw, has scored. Dodgers 9 runs, 12 hits. The Padres a whimper of protest. 1 hit by John Jay. Kershaw has been overwhelming, but you lose sight of that because the Dodgers have broken the game wide up. He's retired 10 in a row, allowed 1 hit. He has struck out 7. He has walked 1. Kershaw at his very best. 1-2 the count to Jock Peterson. Tomorrow night, Scott Kazmir, and for the Padres, James Shields, and the Dodgers trying to give numero uno to Dave Roberts. Remember, Dave was here for a couple of years as a player and a coach. Had one game as an interim manager, and now leads the Dodger pack here today. 1-2. Bounced. Tyson Ross, the ace of the Padres staff, lasted 5 1/3 innings and was charged with 8 runs and 9 hits. Waiting on deck and having a very nice day, A.J. Ellis. Single, scored 2 back in that wild 6th when 9 men came to the plate. 2-2. Peterson goes down, striking out a second time on an off-speed pitch. Slider at 84. Must be mixed feelings. Mark McGwire with the Dodgers as a hitting coach. Now the bench coach for Andy Green. There he is wearing that long sleeve overshirt. Yeah, Peterson used to make him scratch his head. Now everything about the Padres. So that's the first out of the inning. Here's A.J. Ellis. Check swing. Ball 1. Ellis flied to right, struck out, and single to center. Fastball wiggles at 95, but it's off the plate. Waiting on deck, Clayton Kershaw, who is 1 for 3. Everybody in the lineup has scored, and everybody in the lineup has at least 1 hit. Oh yeah, they've scored the last run against Buchter and Perdomo. But they knocked in a bunch against the best pitcher really that San Diego has, Tyson Ross. Okay, Ellis draws the walk, and that'll bring up Kershaw. Kershaw grounded out in the second inning, topped the ball out in front of the plate against Ross, and then last time up he was Ross's last hitter, and Kershaw got a base hit to drive in a run. Though the bases are loaded, only 1 out. Oh, and 1. Kershaw, through his 6 innings, has made 83 pitches. That's not much at all. That'd be 14 pitches an inning. 51 of those pitches strikes. He's got the first pitch over for a strike, 15 out of 20. And he has had only 3 2-0 counts. 1-2 the count to Clayton. Chase Utley waiting on deck. Dodgers on their way to beating San Diego 7 straight. 6 in a row to finish up last year. Little ground foul. The Dodgers also won 14 of the 19 last year and came in here and won 7 out of 10. So they start off today laying down the law again, leading 9-0. Little squirt, foul ball. Kershaw chasing pitches, shakes his head, grins at Cedarstrom. Now back to work. One ball and 2 strikes. So it's been Ross, then Buchter, and Perdomo. Oh, it's a big crowd today. It's more than the official capacity crowd. Taking a moment. 44,317, but its listed capacity 40,000. That's poke foul down the line, out of play. They're everywhere. I mean, they're on the roof of the Western Metal Supply Company and each level throughout the ballpark. Then they have the new addition of the seats in right center field, where they took away the sandbox pretty much. Another foul ball, which deprives us what used to be such a great sight. You'd look out there, and with our cameras we'd zoom in and you'd see the little ones playing in the sand. Now commercialism moves in and you understand. There is a little sandbox. You can't see it anymore. So there is some room for the kids to be on San Diego Beach, as they call it. All right, Kershaw makes Perdomo work and strikes out. Now Utley. Chase Utley doubled in the first inning, came around to score, hit by a pitch in the third inning, and was thrown out at the plate on a great relay from Upton to Ramirez to Norris. Fly to center in the fifth and single to right in the sixth. 2 for 3 and hit by a pitch. Check swing off the plate. Upton playing him straight away in left field, and Utley has hit the ball to center, left center, and to right. Two and 0 the count. Utley, who has been hit a lot of times in his career, only once today in the third inning. And he's at it again, a base hit. So that will score Puig. Right behind him another run, and the Dodgers now lead 11-0. So Trace Thompson comes in along with Puig. And Utley comes up with his third hit, and what a huge day he's having now. Utley set a record 2 years ago of getting on base throughout the course of the year. It was remarkable. He was on base like 85% of the time. So he gets himself the base hit, gets a pat on the back from George Lombard, and it has deteriorated, has this game, and it's also about 20 after 6, and a lot of people are thinking, you know what, dinner tastes a lot better than sitting here. So the game has just come apart. So Puig came in on the base hit. That means he scored twice. Thompson came in on the base hit. He just got in the game. Ellis all the way around to third. 11 runs and 13 hits for the Dodgers. 0 for San Diego. Ball one. So how high can you go? Well, he's up there 11-0. Still has 3 innings to pitch, however. Little ground ball. Up with it there easily as Will Myers takes it to the bag. Crowd a sarcastic roar. 8 men come to the plate. And this game has just completely run away. In the last 2 innings, Dodgers have scored 5 in the 6th, 3 in the 7th, lead 11-0. Well, it's a runaway ball game this opening day in San Diego, and the Dodgers getting the runaway behind the best they have, the best there is around, Clayton Kershaw. Dodgers have pretty much taken all the air out of the balloon here. 44,317, and the Dodgers, who have done a number against San Diego for many years, have really put it to the Padres today. So that's always a tough thing for any ball club, and especially to have it at home. Milwaukee shares the feelings with San Diego. Giants went there and beat them 12-3, but there's still 3 innings left, and it'll be Matt Kemp followed by Will Myers and then Alexi Ramirez. The only base hit, a single left by John Jay early in the game in the 3rd, where the sun is very much a part of it. The field, except for a patch behind 3rd and slightly into short, the only sun really left inside the ballpark. Everything else in shade. But back in the 3rd inning, it was another story. It was probably around 5 o'clock. Whether Crawford could have bought that ball that was hit by John Jay, we'll never know, but it stands up now like a missing front tooth. 11 runs and 13 hits for the Dodgers, no runs and 1 hit for the Padres. Kemp has grounded out, struck out, 0 for 2, and a strike, 0-1. So the Dodgers now carrying over from last year, trying to win 7 straight against the Padres, 6 straight on opening day. Dodgers are also trying to do something that's not been done. No team has won 4 consecutive division championships, and as you know, they won 3 in a row. Scott Kazmir, James Shields tomorrow night. Change up. Kershaw rarely throws that pitch. That was 72 miles an hour. If you're going to exchange, let's say, a curveball for an off-speed changeup, this isn't a bad time to do it anyway. Comes back, fastball, Kemp frozen, looks, down he goes. So that's 8 strikeouts for Clayton Kershaw, and 11 in a row retired. And the batter is Will Myers. I don't say big league ball players. After all, they're professionals. They're playing for money. But you have to have some kind of a pilot light go out when you're down 11-0. But bigger leads have been dissipated, that's for sure. Meanwhile, Dodger bullpen resting comfortably for the moment. Whether they want Kershaw to go too far along remains to be seen. He's up there on 98. Lewis Coleman, who was a big surprise to beat out Luis Avilan. Coleman kind of standing around waiting to see if they want him to throw. Kershaw now has made 90 pitches right on the money. And a high fly ball to center. Late start by Peterson. Almost overran it. Puts on the brakes and makes the catch. He had trouble seeing that ball coming out of the stands as he talks to Trace Thompson. 12 in a row retired by Kershaw. And the batter, Alexi Ramirez. Now, if you were not with us, I would like to repeat the little story I told you about Ramirez's car. Right-hand hitter. He had a car, Jaguar, and he decided that he wanted to do something. He paid $25,000 to a man who changes cars. So for $25,000, customized job. He had a black car and they used thermochromic paint. I don't know what that is. So when the car is cold, the Jaguar is black. When it warms up, it inches into red, white, and blue. A beautiful masterpiece. Paid $25,000 for the paint job. Change up, foul back out of play. But the thing that got me, with all the colors about the car, Alexi did something that's really freakish. The wheel covers, the hubcaps, go in reverse. So when the car is driving, the wheels look like they're going backwards. He's from the Dominican, and they like a lot of color over there. Off-speed pitch. Again, I think Kershaw is experimenting on the changeup with the 11-0 lead, and he's gotten a couple of outs. He has now retired 13 in a row, walking out perhaps for his end of the day. Ball just dies. I don't think it's really a curveball, more of a straight change. So at the end of 7, the Dodgers sitting on top of the world, and Kershaw doing the same. leading 11-0. Everybody in the lineup, including Kershaw, has a base hit. Everybody in the lineup has scored once. So it's a complete runaway, 11-0. Most runs scored on opening day. That's for the Los Angeles Dodgers. That was at Houston. They scored 16, beat the Astros 16-7, and the hit parade continues. Justin Turner bangs one just inside. Solarte tried to come up with it, couldn't do it, and Turner checks in with a double to left field. For the Dodgers, they now have 9, 11, 14 hits to go with their 11 runs, and I'm just counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doubles. It's just been completely one-sided. Dodger bullpen is quiet. Kershaw might very well feel good enough to stay in there. So Turner has a couple of doubles. No balls and 1 strike. And there's a hard ground ball base hit. Turner around third. He will score without a play. Adrian Gonzalez comes home and has a huge day. 3 hits and a walk. 3 runs batted in. So for Perdomo, remember, here's a 22-year-old making his major league debut, and the Dodgers are really shaking his confidence. He's been roughed up now for 5 runs. 12 runs and 15 hits for the Dodgers. The other big score, the Los Angeles Dodgers had an opening day where they beat Atlanta 13-4. But here you're talking not only 12 runs, but a shutout. Now Puig. Puig today struck out and walked, hit by a pitch, and single to center. He has scored twice. Luis Perdomo, 22 years old, getting older by the minute. You either stay with Perdomo or you bring in some other player, non-pitcher, to wrap it up. Solarte, Melvin Upton, and Spangenberg are due up. For Andy Green, tough little kid, tough ball player, and now tough to take. Colin Rear begins to warm up now. Yasiel took one on the elbow, right on that left elbow, but ran to first base, scored a run, singled, and scored another one. The chant, it is a low one, a soft one, and there's going to be a wild pitch, so down to second goes Gonzalez. No mercy rule, of course, but the crowd, just a group of them singing, "Let's go Padres." You're down 12-0 in the 8th inning. That hurts for Andy Green to even hear. There you are. Things will get better. Darn right. Two and two. Don't forget, opening day at Dodger Stadium on the 12th with the Arizona Diamondbacks, who suffered a tremendously bad break the other night, Friday night, I think it was, when they lost their center fielder. Puig, meanwhile, hits one all the way to the wall. Scoring easily will be Gonzalez, and Puig is into third with a triple, and the ball gets away. He is gonna come home and score. Dodger fans ecstatic. Padre fans looking the other way. And it's 13-0 in favor of the Dodgers. Puig going down after a breaking ball and got a hold of it. He triples to right center. Dodgers now have 14 runs, 16 hits, and here comes the wild horse. So that's going to do it for Perdomo. Amidst all the joy, a 22-year-old with a broken heart. What a debut. He's charged with 6 runs after Ross gave up 8. Dodgers lead 14-0. We'll be back. BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers, or visit SoCalBMW.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. By the way, the most one-sided victory between these two teams last year, it belonged to the Padres. They beat the Dodgers 11-3. Dodgers returned the favor and beat the Padres here 11-8. But this 14-0. Colin Ray, right-hander, picking up for a broken-hearted Luis Perdomo. Look at that. 16 hits. And Puig winds up with a triple and the error charge on the throw to Spangenberg. There are games like these, but it's rare to see a game completely come apart opening day. It means so much to the home team, and it's so destructive to be blown out of the water to the home team. A loss is one thing, but when you are completely clobbered, it takes a little bit of the opening day optimism away. Of course, they're coming back with James Shields tomorrow night, and the Dodgers with Scott Kazmir. Then Andrew Kashner and Kenta Maeda. 2-2 the count. Trace Thompson got in after Crawford went 1 for 3, and Thompson double the left. Colin from Iowa. All Iowa. A little low. 3-2. Milwaukee Brewers certainly share the feelings of the Padres. They were crushed by the Giants 12-3 in their opening day. Although I guess most people in Wisconsin are waiting for tomorrow. The political people anyway. A drive to right down the line in the corner, bangs off the wall, and it's foul. So Thompson comes back up. 14 runs. Dodgers scored 2 in the first, 1 in the third, 5 in the sixth, 3 in the seventh, 3 in the eighth. What's the worst game I ever saw one-sided? I have no idea. I try very hard not to remember those games. 3-2. Little number, fair, and foul. So Trace coming back, trying it again. He had that bad night the other night in one of the Angel games. He had 3 at-bats, struck out 3 times, but he's a lot better a ball player than that. He figures to see a lot of work as the Dodgers move people around. Of course, they have 10 players on the DL. Three and two. And it's ball 4. So for Ray, he comes in to walk 1. Dodgers, among other things, with their 16 hits, have 6 walks. Jock Peterson so far struck out in the second inning, grounded out when he actually hit the ball into right field. This time he bangs it to left center, and that is going to be up with it by Joe Jay, and holding on at runners at second and third. So Peterson comes up with his second double. So the Dodgers now at second and third. A.J. Ellis ready to come in. So Peterson today has 2 doubles down the right field line and to left center. That has to be very encouraging. Turner Ward and the others watching young Jock off to a great start. Here now is Ellis. Kike Hernandez coming out of the Dodger dugout, so he's going to bat for Kershaw. So Clayton went 7 innings, allowed 1 hit. So Hernandez getting ready to bat. Ellis flied to right, struck out, singled and walked, drove in 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Admittedly, the game is completely gotten away against young Perdomo and now Ray. But it was finished when they chased Tyson Ross. That's a strike. 44,317 paid, and almost half of them have gone. Many still there on the grassy knoll, but there's not much here to watch. By the way, Kershaw going 7 on opening day. Can you imagine? He has improved a 1.1 earned run average on opening day now in his career. His earned run average is less than 1, 0.9. Ground ball to short. The runners move up a notch. That makes it 15-0 Dodgers. Peterson winds up at third as Thompson comes home. So Ellis gets another run batted in. So it gives AJ 3 RBIs today, and here is Kike Hernandez. Dodgers 15, Padres nothing. Dodgers 15 runs, 17 hits, and doing it without a home run. Tomorrow night they start fresh. It's 1 loss and 1 win when the dust has settled. Kazmir and Shields tomorrow night. Maeda and Cashner on Wednesday night. And then the Dodgers will go up to San Francisco, where Los Angeles is hoping for some rain Wednesday and Thursday. It's supposed to perhaps rain in San Francisco, and the Dodgers are not thrilled with that prospect. On his opening day assignments in his career, Kershaw, 38, almost 39 innings. He's allowed only 4 earned runs. So a little pop fly. Hernandez pops it up. Nowhere for Peterson to go. And the batter now will be Chase Utley. Utley is doubled, hit by a pitch, fly to center, and twice single to right. So he's 3 for 4. Having a big day. 2 RBIs, and he scored 1. Strike. 0-1. In the Dodger bullpen, Lewis Coleman gets up again. So we'll see if they bring him in. They have to bring somebody in unless Hernandez pitches. Chopper over the mound, charging, bare hand throw, and a nice play by shortstop Alexi Ramirez. So Utley losing a base hit. Excellent play by the shortstop. However, the Dodgers add to the carnage and lead 15-0. Free season-long subscription to MLB.TV Premium. Go to T-Mobile.com/MLB and sign up now and catch every moment on America's fastest-growing LTE network. Dodgers make a lot of changes. I hope you're not keeping score. Scott Van Slyke is now at first. Charlie Culberson takes over at third. Kiki Hernandez is in left field. Trace Thompson moved to right. And Lewis Coleman on the mound. Coleman missing with his first pitch. Yangervis Solarte has walked and lined out to third. So he finds himself now at an 89-mile-an-hour fastball 1 ball and 1 strike. Coleman is the fella. Over the years, he's been on the roster of several winning teams. He has 6 championship rings of different divisions, half a dozen. In fact, the story went when he was picked by the Dodgers, he said, well, I guess they really need a championship ring. He's from Greenwood, Mississippi. Came up from the Dodger Farm Club, Oklahoma City. Little bit of a surprise that he made it. He made it really. The Dodgers were hoping for an additional left-handed reliever, Luis Avilan, to join J.P. Howell. But Avilan had a really bad spring and spring training. Coleman pitched well. So here's Coleman. "15 runs on 17 hits for the Dodgers, and they've left 7. And the Padres, no runs, 1 hit, 2 errors. And that's hammered down the right field line, heading for the wall. Short hops it, playing it off the wall is Thompson, but breezing into second base is Solarte with a double. And the crowd, somewhat of a sarcastic cheer, but they get themselves their 2nd hit of the game. So Solarte, a double to right. Kershaw went 7 and was absolutely brilliant. Allowed just 1 hit. He allowed 1 walk. He struck out 9, and he retired the last 13 in a row. So here's Melvin Upton. Lined out, struck out. For Lewis Coleman, well, like anyone else coming into the big leagues, but this is more than just that kind of a day. He gets a fly ball to center. Peterson says he'll take care of it. Makes the catch, tagging, but doesn't have his heart in it. And Solarte stays at second. For Lewis Coleman, this is his birthday. He is 30 years old today. 6'4", 205-pounder. So 1 out in the 8th inning, and the batter now, Corey Spangenberg. Second baseman is grounded out, struck out. And a comebacker, but gets through to the second baseman Utley, who makes a nice play. Spangenberg runs well. Solarte goes to third. 2 down. Jabari Blash coming up. So Jabari Blash, right-hand batter. Close play at first. Van Slyke handling, and a good throw and play by Chase Utley. Jabari Blash, he's from the Virgin Islands. 6'5", well put together, 220, an outfielder. Fastball strike, 0-1. The Mariners had him, and they seemed to think he really was a one-tool player. And looking what he did at Tacoma last year, he had 22 home runs, so that's the tool. He has some power. However, Paul McNulty and big Kyle Blanks, they looked like they were going to hit a ton of home runs. They never did. So the fans are going to wait and see whether Jabari Blash can do it or not. Been a pro since 2010. He'll be 27 in July. So Coleman gave up the double to Solarte. Fly ball by Upton. Ground ball by Spangenberg. Lewis now trying to get a slice of the birthday cake and finish the inning. Three and two. And ball 4. So Blash gets the walk. 2 on, 2 out. So the way things have been going, that's a big rally for the Padres. A double and a walk, and with 2 out, here's John Jay, 1 for 3. Had the only hit going into this inning. That was a base hit to left field in the 3rd inning. So down the line from 3rd comes Solarte. Blash away from 1st, 2 out. 15-0 Dodgers. 1-1. Clayton Kershaw was at his very best. He allowed 1 hit, 1 walk, struck out 9, and was in complete command. Two and 1 the count. Jay struck out, had the only hit through 7 innings. The only one allowed by Kershaw. And that's popped in the air. Very playable. Scott Van Slyke right there. So for Coleman on his birthday, he comes in, gives up a base hit, but did well enough. Happy birthday, Lewis. And at the end of 8, the Dodgers 15, Padres nothing. The totals through 8 innings for the Dodgers. They have absolutely demolished the Padres, but it's only 1 game. When you realize 1 of 162, it's pretty hard to really make a decision on any ball club. We do know Kevin Quackenbush is coming in, the 5th pitcher for San Diego. Jankowski is playing center. Jabari Blash is in right. And here we go in the 9th. The Dodgers 15 runs, 17 hits, no errors. They've left 7. Padres no runs, 2 hits, 2 errors. They've left 4. Kevin Quackenbush, 27 years old, from Land O'Lakes, Florida. Certainly big enough, 6'4", 235. Picked up his first major league save 2 years ago against the Dodgers in August. Over the top, good pitch. Corey Seager, meanwhile, trying to get something started yet again. And the Marines are here. They were parading before the game in that great open day ceremonies. Seager, grounding foul, has doubled and struck out, grounded to short, lined out. Two RBIs for Corey. Still there, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Kevin Quackenbush attended the University of South Florida. He's been with the Padres 2 years ago and again last year. Last year, ERA was 4. 2 years ago, his ERA was 2.4. Chopper to third. Solarte has the play. Makes a good one. And down goes Seager. So 1 down. Justin Turner, who is out of the game. Scott Van Slyke is hitting in his spot. Turner grounded out on a good piece of hitting to advance a runner in the first inning. Double a left in the third. Flied to right, struck out, double a left and scored. So Justin had a good game. And now Van Slyke. Van Slyke, of course, figures to see some hitting against left-hand pitching. Right now, facing a right-hander whom he has seen before, Kevin Quackenbush. 0-2. So Ross, Booktour, Perdomo, Ray, and Quackenbush. By the way, a note that escaped us, it just reminds me that when Ross went to the mound for the Padres, remember his pitching record. He had made 49 starts. We had never given up more than 4 earned runs. Well, today, Tyson Ross gave up 8. Ocho for Andy Green especially. Pretty good pitch, off speed. The bottom dropped out of it. Strike 3 called. So Quackenbush picks it up. That wasn't a curveball. That was just a straight pitch that dropped over. Van Slyke thought it was low. So he is done, and here's Charlie Culberson. Culberson hitting in Adrian Gonzalez's spot. Boy, hard to believe Adrian had another big day. He had 3 more singles, 3 RBIs. Opening day last year against San Diego, Gonzalez was 3 for 5, 2 runs scored, and a solo home run against James Shields. And Shields is going to pitch tomorrow night. So Culberson is finishing up after Adrian had yet another nice day. There's James Shields. A little late, down he goes, and that is the inning. So a couple of strikeouts for Quackenbush, and we are heading to the bottom of the 9th. 15-0. Yimi Garcia coming in. Much more work than they had thought they would get in this game. It really has deteriorated so that if you didn't know spring training was over, you would certainly assume this was a spring training game. So Kershaw went 7. They didn't need him really. After about 5 or 6, he was in such command. So they decided to give Coleman a little inning of work, and now the same for Yimi Garcia. So Garcia is more than a product. The Dodgers like his stuff and just need some maturing. And Yimi getting ready now. So it's been Kershaw, Coleman for an inning, and Garcia. Last year, 3-5, but a good ERA of 3. Garcia facing Derek Norris, the catcher, who is 0 for 3. Norris twice flied to right, flied to left, 0 for the day. Little breaking ball. For Dave Roberts, Rick Honeycutt, Bob Guerin, and the other coaches, Chris Woodward, George Lombard, it has been a very pleasant day. Dodgers thrilled, and the Padres just saying, hey, it's only one. 161 to go. Justin Turner, he had a good day today. Turner had a couple of doubles and ran well. Gonzalez laughing, it's that time of day. And that good fastball devours Norris, and down he goes. So Kershaw struck out 9. That means 10 Padres have bitten the dust. Clayton sitting quietly. Here's Travis Jankowski finishing up in center field, batting in Matt Kemp's spot. Kemp went 0 for 3, struck out twice against Kershaw. Good fastball. Jankowski is late. 0-1 to Travis. Couple of home runs last year, dozen RBIs. We're in the bottom of the 9th with 1 out. Even the ones who were kind of being a little sarcastic, Padres were down and they were chanting, "Let's go Pods," and it was 15-0. Even they have quieted. There are still some people here. One thing, there are a lot of fine restaurants down here. So some folks might decide, well, let's stay to the end of the game and have dinner here. The Dodgers stay in a hotel a bridge away. Travis Jankowski, his middle name is Paul, out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. .62, about 190. And the 1-2 pitch. Fastball foul back. And a good fastball at 95. Jankowski only 24. Got a home run against the Giants, his first last year against Mike Leake. Got his first base hit last year against the Cardinals. John Lackey. Two and two. Jankowski appeared in 34 games with the Padres, hit .211. He had 2 home runs and a dozen runs batted in. Just starting out. Two and two. Boy, did he wait. Look at that. Almost got Justin Turner. And Clayton Kershaw. That would have been a very expensive foul ball. Whoa. It hit right at the edge of the dugout, apparently. Boy, it went that away. All right, Jankowski back up there. On desk, Will Myers. That almost got the on-deck hitter. But Jankowski following him every which way. Myers is a little close to home plate. I mean, he should be in the on-deck circle, but he's 5 feet in front of that. Yeah, not too smart. And that's going to be a little dunker, and it will drop. So Jankowski keeps putting the bat on the ball and eventually winds up with a bloop single. That is the 3rd hit for the Padres. They had a hit off Kershaw. They had a hit off Coleman. And now a hit off Garcia. Will Myers against Kershaw struck out twice, fly to center. 0 for 3. So 15 runs, 17 hits, no errors. The Dodgers are full of grins. What's it? Winners tell jokes, losers say deal. Well, the Dodgers kind of enjoying every moment of it. Kershaw starting off the year with a victory after going 16-7. And Clayton really has never been a really overpowering pitcher in April. So for the Dodgers, they have to be thrilled to see him pitch so well. 7 innings, 1 hit, his first time out. Against the Padres in his career, 4-2. Couple of no decisions. So Garcia comes in, strikes out Norris after a bunch of foul balls, gives up the bloop single. And now 2-1 the count to Will Myers, the first baseman. Up and in, 2-2 the count. Myers, a very confident ball player, but he lost some confidence playing the outfield. But his favorite position is first base. He's worked very hard all spring, and he figures to be there all year. Garcia looked like he was going to strike out the side when he came in facing Norris. But Jankowski really hung in there against him and finally won the battle with that bloop single. So Travis at first base. Van Slyke is not holding him. You don't expect him to gamble at all. 2-2. Fastball hit up the middle. There's nobody there. They're going to center. Jankowski runs very well. He breezes into third. So the Padres trying to get off. What is it? The Schneid? I'm not a card player, but I think that's it. They don't have any runs. So first and third with one out in the 9th inning, and Alexei Ramirez, who will tell you about the guy who painted his car. Ramirez has grounded to third and struck out twice, but all 3 strikeouts were against Kershaw. Dodgers have Peterson slightly offline. 0-1 to Ramirez. Garcia here in a battle. I was thinking as long as Ramirez keeps the ball in hot weather. Going to be a little flare. It'll be Van Slyke. That's the second out. Down here, that car will be red, white, and blue during the warm weather. Yangervis Solarte played pretty much all day at third base. He is walked, lined out, and doubled to right. First and third, 2 out, 15-0 Dodgers. And ball 1. That's in for a strike. One ball, one strike. Lifted to left field. Hernandez has a play, and that is it. The game is over. 15 runs, 17 hits for the Dodgers. They left 7. No runs, 4 hits, and 2 errors for San Diego. The player of the game, Clayton Kershaw, for sure. 7 innings, no runs, 1 hit, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. Down he goes. So the Dodgers take game 1 of 162. Talk to you tomorrow night. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.